perhaps talk to us about your reflections as you remember 100 years of Mandela.
Cathy, it's been a very significant year in celebrating the life of Madiba. The number of events that have taken place have one particular feature that we should draw from them, and that is it compels us to reflect on his life and draw lessons. And when I do that, I find that there is a general proposition in life that we all have to live with the consequences of our actions. But it is the way we live with those consequences that we learn from Madiba's life and experience, that way is crucial. It defines us as individual human beings. It defines us as leaders, whether it be in the political, the public, or the private sphere, be it in the media, and it should guide us in the way we conduct ourselves in the social media.
And perhaps, take it a step further in exploring that concept of living with life and how to live best with the consequences and certain outcomes. Make it relevant for us, perhaps a practical situation that everybody can understand.
Let me give you one example and share it with you that is now well known, but I don't know how many distill the lesson. When Madiba and company were arrested and brought to in the Rivonia Trial, they faced the prospect of a death sentence, and they had to determine a line of defense. And they decided that they would defend themselves in such a way as to promote an understanding of the justice of their cause. Secondly, that they would conduct themselves in such a way that it would inspire other freedom fighters to keep on with the struggle, even if Madiba and them were to be executed. But their conduct would inspire others to continue with that struggle. So that's the line they pursued. But when it came to the reality of sentencing, Madiba drafted the statement that they would make. And then they had to face the possibility of a death sentence. And the lawyers asked them, what would you do? Madiba decided that they agreed, the accused, that they would not go on appeal. And the reason was simple, that if they went on appeal, it would perhaps be read as a sign of weakness by them, a sign of faltering in the struggle. So the consequence of a death sentence was something that they accepted. I give that example for another reason, because the accused all agreed, no matter how serious the evidence against them, that they would not appeal. And the issue became, look, some of you would get off if you went on appeal. But they stood firm together as a group. They showed a united front so that all of us would live with the image of the solidarity of the struggle, in the struggle. And so there you have it. But the reality is that there were huge differences among some of the accused. Differences about the relevance and about Operation Mohlahlana. But they never allowed those differences to manifest themselves in the public space, because they said to themselves, if we allow that, it would dishearten our followers. It would dishearten freedom fighters. So that's the measure of responsibility that they took. And I put this example because when I look at all the celebrations that have taken place, and when I look at the condition of the world and the condition of our country, I say, taking responsibility for your actions and the choices you make, and when consequences are not what you desired, finding a way forward rather than who to blame, finding a way forward to take our people a step forward towards our goal, becomes the crucial test of leadership.
You also referenced this specifically in relation to social media. What do you think has been the role there in terms of the example you're giving?
Social media is a very powerful instrument that has arisen in the digital age. It is going to revolutionize, the digital revolution is going to change the way we do almost everything we do in public and private spheres. But the anonymity of social media seems to bring out the worst in a large number of people. They play on emotion, they remove facts from reason from emotion, and they inspire you and propagate lies and seem to inspire hatred, anger, fear, and hostility. And that's a dangerous trend. But like all other advances in human society, there are benefits to it as there are disadvantages for all of us. And we have to find a way to respond to it by each of us understanding that we have a responsibility not just to ourselves, but we have a responsibility to society in the way we conduct ourselves.
And you're taking me back slightly to part of the words that the former US president had to say on precisely the same thing, the rise of fake news and how information is put out there. And he also drew a link with that to race and how racism not just remains a problem in South Africa, but also the world over, including the US. Perhaps, I don't know if you want to add any comment to that.
Indeed, I think that I walked away from the Obama lecture filled with questions, inspired by the challenges that he put to us. I walked away asking myself, once more, what are the challenges we are facing? And how should we cope with those challenges? What I learned from Obama was that the democracy we have created, and democracy around the world is facing testing times. It is important that all of us conduct ourselves in such a way that as we seek to resolve the conflicts that are in our society, we at the same time do not undermine the democracy that we have won. Now, it is in this context that in South Africa, we're finding both amongst the white community and the black community elements that are playing to populism and that are playing to a disregard for the facts. What Obama taught me is if we keep searching for the facts, engage with each other, and base our debates, our conversation, and our contestation on facts, we will be able to come together and find solutions. Now, I accept, Cathy, that we have inherited a past where facts are highly contested. But it is in this context that we need to guard against racism, against tribalism, against patriarchy, against sexism as well. So the important thing in everything we do, let's search for the facts even when they are contested. Because even in that search, in that contested terrain, we may find ourselves getting together so that the conversation and the debate becomes solution-based. And we will find that in searching for those facts, itself will create an atmosphere where we come together and become to have a common vision. Now, with regards to racism in our country, we know, Madiba has said, racism is something learned and therefore can be unlearned. But there is a crucial element that we must keep in mind, that the way society is organized, both in its economy and its social relations, reinforced and created those ideas of racism and tribalism. And it is important that those inequalities that are there in our economy and social life are overcome. Because until we bring that in line with the idea of non-sexism and non-racialism, we will not have found a permanent answer.
When you speak about the voices that represent populist agendas, on the other end of that spectrum, of course, is that some of the views that are being expressed represent the concerns, legitimate concerns that people have on the ground. So to what extent, given how polarized our political system is becoming, do you think there is opportunity for all political players across the spectrum, whether it's far right or the far left, to sit around the table and find solutions to the problems in a way that is amicable, even if not necessarily agreeable?
I think, Cathy, that we must understand that democracy has provided us with the table. Democracy has provided us with the platform where we can debate, where we can discuss, we can engage in dialogue, we can engage in protest through peaceful means and find answers. The important thing is keep our ear on and eyes on the ground. Those feelings that are expressed by our people express their pain and concern about the conditions they endure. It is our job as leaders in every field of life, in politics, in public life, in private life, in the media, to keep on helping that we search for the facts and bring facts into the debate. Because that way we will take the pain and suffering of our people, empower them to use this democracy to bring about change. I am not talking about another CODESA. That may or may not happen. The important thing is to understand that the democracy that we have won creates that platform where conversation, debate around conflicts that are there in our society can be dealt with in such a way as to take us forward. And when we deal with issues of racism, we need to do it in searching for the facts, coming out of it and discussing, so that we bring all South Africans together to share in the solution and to take responsibility for the future we are creating for our children. We do not want, no one of us wants to create a future where our children will inherit a wasteland.